So, but while we're waiting on them, this is legislative Monday. And so we have legislation on tomorrow. We're going to see a couple of items walked on. And, you know, not that it was left off the agenda intentionally or anything, it's just the timing in which we had to officially get some things clear. Just to do one more time, longer than expected, but we're good. But does anybody have anything they want to talk about the agenda concerning the agenda? If you want to make your public comment to your council representative, you can do it right here and make it tomorrow as well for the whole body. Anybody have any questions? Any questions?
Are we talking about the agenda today?
This legislative Monday, yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Let me glance over it. Let me see.
Well, I know the agenda of this call.
I know we're supposed to do our homework before we get to school.
Well, because I remember when we first started, I was going through it, and somebody says, "Dang, don't we read it?" I guess I'm, you know, I hate to hear myself talk sometimes too, and so, but I was going through the agenda, reading it through, and then if it's legislative Mondays, because it's going to be the fourth Mondays, right before the council meeting, then we all know it. So if the agenda is published and does come out, we put it on District 5 meetwe.org over the weekend, and could go there and look at it. Then I think it's released to a lot of the body and the public today, and so. But we're gonna have everybody have an opportunity to discuss.
Okay, number 9, where it said these lots are split. Are they split between the districts?
For the
number 9 is.
What is that for?
It says 5600 Fairwood split, District 5. What does that mean? Fulton Industrial. Got some building here. Fulton Industrial. Parkview. Does that mean that the property line splits between the districts for these buildings?
Yeah, lot split. That Parkview Estates. What? And that's one of the ones where they were trying to tie it in with the Stacks Road. But those are housing units, but the same attorney represented Parkview Estates, has represented the strategic partners. And so, and yeah, because the 5600 being split, as I'm bringing up the 5600 block. Tamika, can you do that? Bring it up by satellite view on the call here.
Yes.
On the screen. Yeah, let's go to the actual parcel satellite view. Is it okay? That's it. No, that's right. As you see, I was talking about the the satellite view, because I want the people to understand where this is at. This is that old house that they just redid. As soon as you're coming down Warner Creek Drive, if you're going towards Fairwood Road, make that left. As soon as you pass the first house, second house, there was a house that just sat on some land. And it looked kind of abandoned, you know, but it wasn't. It was actually occupied. But they sold it. Oh. And so one of the things is, I'm not sure what they're trying to do, but it's a parcel of land because, you know, if you travel further on down Fairwood, some people put 3 houses in their backyard. I made them individualized. I don't know how that fares well in this situation, but I think it's 13 acres. I'm not sure of the acres, but I think it might be 3 to 5 acres. I know that. And for clarity, I mean, it's just, I think they're trying to split the land, but that's not gonna. I don't know how legal it is.
So do they have to get permits to build additional houses on the property?
I mean, they would have to come to a whole site plan, get sewage. I mean, you have the infrastructure. It's a lot of things, but I just don't. Let me just say this. I wasn't around. I mean, because it was like I could put houses on the back of my yard, right? But I wouldn't do that. Now, unless I was to build some tiny homes and have it just, you know, as an example, people can come by and see. But I wouldn't do that because it really kind of takes away from the community here. It adds more density in which it wasn't supposed to be, because that takes it to like an R4, R5 zoning. And so with more density, and I'm just saying that I like the preservation of the established community here. And then going down, particularly coming down Fairwood, because that's a high traffic zone. And right where they're at, the stop sign is right there, and it's on the hill. And I'm not understanding. So but our lead attorney is out, and so, you know what I mean? So we just have some questions, but if y'all have some more questions, please feel free to jot them in, so we're gonna ask all of them. And so, because it might be something I didn't even think about. But I just, like I said, I don't understand it.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, in other words, the split attempting to put more buildings on the property. Okay. All right. Well, I guess I have to include that in my notes tomorrow. Let me see what else. Okay. Oh, I went to the meeting with Parks and Rec about Creel Park. And I know that Mr. Turner was on your program. However, he explained to us how he repairs the park, and then when he go back, the children have demolished, torn up some of the work that he has put into it. And when people complain, they always complain about the park does not accommodate the community because it's in disarray. But that's not the issue. It's because the children go and tear up the park, what has been repaired. I just want to say that.
So, but that will be fine. But we've been talking about putting cameras in the park for 2 years, and where are they at? And so
I don't know.
Exactly. So a lot of things can curtail a lot of the things that's happening in our parks because we legit passed the ordinance, the resolution for cameras to be in the park. And we're still
let me tell you my problem with the city right now. Let me tell you my issue with the city.
I want to hear
they do not have anyone in place to handle the day-to-day operations. And people get paid to perform these duties, but they do not do their job. I don't know if they're not qualified or don't have the knowledge. You have plenty of resources. You could get you a notepad. You got Excel. You got email. And if people don't respond and do their work, then they need to be moved out of those positions. Thank you.
I want you to repeat that again. Radio slow.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
he said he wants you to repeat that again in Swahili and Hindu and Spanish.
We need someone in the city to handle the day-to-day operations. You have plenty of resources. You got notebooks, you got paper, you got Excel, email. We need to work on that. That is vital, even in your household. Day-to-day operations. Thank you. Oh, and don't forget, they need to outsource the grant writing. And I said that a few years ago. There is no excuse for that.
Sister Collins.
Yes.
Oh, I tell you, you must be sitting at my desk. And I'm so serious about that, but I understand how serious the grant situation is. Because we've missed out on a few opportunities. And yes. one we missed out on is they was giving the governor, the good hit governor, is giving away $2 million for every park. And I just said that, we could have at least got, $2 million. Because let me just tell you about this little parks master plan. Everything sounds good. Everybody gonna plan, got to do study, got to plan, study. What's gonna come at the end of that study? I had to finance it. So now they got to finance it. Now they got to bring all these people in and, to tell us now how we're going to get it. We spend all this money, $150 million bond referendum. Out of the needs assessment of the park, 30. You know how many actually will get completed?
Probably none.
About 6.
No.
And what would that leave the parks over there where the Christmas tracks? And what about the park that one doesn't exist? And so it's just funding. So we need all of the funding we can for our park system that we can. And I think each park should have its own budget.
Well, who is in charge of hiring the grants writer? Outsourcing that? Is it Mr. Toms? I mean, I don't know who it is, but it appears to me that somebody is just lax. They don't have the tenacity that the city needs to make it move forward.
They need the tenacity of a rose growing from concrete. And so
it's crazy to me.
No, it is. But I want to say something so bad, but I'm gonna hold my tongue. And so it's like because I share your sentiments, but I'm just saying that we are working diligently, and I mean diligently, to rectify that situation.
Thank you.
The sooner the better.
Oh, yeah.
They just put out a person who is the director of grants who is able to get the job done.
Well, that's what we've needed. We needed all along. We needed it when Miss Jones was there. That was one of my questions to her, but she didn't take our questions that night. Outsource it. You don't have anybody in the house?
I'm telling you, we do. We got one of the best. Oh, I tell you, we got one of the best. But, like I said, I'm going to hold my tongue as we are working diligently to achieve the objective. Because let me tell you something, the 5th district, the number 5 represents Jupiter. So I want people to go really kind of look that up. Because when I say Jupiter, it's not I'm talking crazy. We really are something because the unique culture that we have is our bandwidth of knowledge and our brain trust within the 5th district is vast, and there's a lot of experience and a lot of respect in their respective fields. We have the best of the best people. I get it. I'm not even tooting the horn of the field. I'm just saying it's just a fact. But you'll come to know that in due time. And sometimes you just got to move quietly, just be quietly, just let the actions show that sometimes people who don't agree with you, for whatever reason, you know, we just want things to take a course as it naturally should, as we don't want to persuade or, you know, have any major influence over it. But when you know something is right, do that. So,
Corey.
Yes, ma'am.
I was going to make a suggestion, which is the 1 cent sales tax option. The reason why I bring this up is many years ago, I was part of a group that went out into the community to expel the need for the 1 cent sales tax. The courthouse had burned down, the school needed to be replaced, and the jail was under federal mandate for replacement. And I was part of the group that went out and talked about this. And as a result, previously it had been voted down. And then because the need was so great, the community was told about what the needs were, and they finally approved it in the 80 percentile approval rate. And what happened is that they sold municipal bonds to replace the 3 buildings. And then what happened is that within 7 years of it being placed, it got paid off. And I mean, we're talking millions of dollars. And this was back in the 80s. So there is the possibility of doing something like that where it had a end, it had a terminal end to the 1 cent sales tax. And as a result, this was the first time it had ever been done in the state of Georgia. And as a result, the state, cities and counties in the state have been using this. And it does fund projects. And what happens is that it encourages people to spend money within the county, and they're able to pay the municipal bond off quickly. Like, I mean, they had, projected 10, 15, 20 years, I believe. And it got paid off in 7 years. Mm-hmm. And I've got another project that that's what I'm, proposing for that also. And you know what project I'm talking about?
Go ahead, share with us.
Oh, the project is an emergency room made from shipping containers, because we don't have any medical hospitals in the vicinity of city of South Fulton. And I have reached out to the county commissioners. Corey is known about this and is encouraging me. And Marvin Arrington proposed, sent information about me to Dr. Pamela Rochelle, and I was in touch with them today and sent my proposal to them today.
Okay,
and
awesome.
It's part of the Fulton County government. So, and what would be happening is that the emergency room would be, up and running within a short period of time. A hospital authority would have the auspice of it. However, if they're trying to build a hospital, it's going to be 4 or 5 years down the road. because it's going to take an immense amount of money. They have to have the coordination of an architect, blueprints, site plan, as y'all noted, and then it would have to be built and then outfitted. And this way, within a few short months, an emergency room could be up and running and seeing patients before sending them on to the hospital, because the nearest is an hour away. And with traffic, it could be even longer than that. And time is of the essence when seeing patients that have been involved in heart attacks, strokes, vehicle accidents, fire injuries, shootings, stabbings, illnesses, and so on.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, we're going to put a pause on that, put a pin in that, because we do have on now Chief Keith Meadows. And we'd just like to give him the opportunity and the time to share with you what he is doing and everything else that you would like to ask them, and then we'll open up for Q&A. So without further ado, Chief, let me just say this. Thank you so much for joining the call. I appreciate you taking out time to get on here and talk to the constituency. Without further ado, you have the mic, sir.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Councilman, and thank you for having us here tonight. I know that in District 5, we've certainly had a few challenges this year, with respects to crime, but we've tried to make an effort to work various details throughout the District 5 districts so that we can try to impact some of these crimes that have been occurring. And we've seen the crime start trending in the right direction. Initially, in the first part of the year, we had seen a spike, especially when it relates to car break-ins. We put together a detail. We put together a detail targeting some of our problem locations, and we managed to arrest almost 9 juveniles over the course of the period of our details. Now, unfortunately, with the details that we were seeing, with respects to the juveniles, we were picking them up and trying to take them to the juvenile detention facility. But unfortunately, they weren't keeping those juveniles. They told us to take them home to their parents. And in many cases, those same juveniles wound up beating us back out on the street before we were able to even finish our paperwork. And so earlier this year, I had a meeting with Governor Kemp to discuss the juvenile point system because it's extremely problematic for us when we catch these juveniles and when we're able to charge them with many of these crimes that we see that they're engaged in, and the juvenile detention facility won't keep them until they get to 12 points within that system. And so one of the additional problems we've seen is that they could go around from one jurisdiction to the next perpetrating crimes, and each jurisdiction is keeping their point system independent of the state system, which means they essentially are never accumulating those 12 points before the juvenile system will decide to keep them incarcerated. And so we had a pretty long, lengthy, and poignant conversation with the governor's office about, ways that we could try to help revamp that system. And he's agreed to engage us in dialogue over the course of the year so that we can potentially present some legislation in the next legislative cycle that helps us to impact this issue. Back when we went through juvenile justice reform many years ago, then Governor Deal promised that when we went through juvenile justice reform, that he would put money towards programming. Well, he put aside $750,000 for the entire state of Georgia, and not $1 of that money made its way to the Atlanta metropolitan area. And so I impressed upon Governor Kemp to try to revisit that juvenile discussion as we move forward so that we could try to figure out ways to impact that. Now, I know a lot of times people, say, well, what is the city of South Fulton doing? Well, we have a really robust parks and recreations program, and it's our hope that this summer that we'll be able to engage our youth to a much higher degree We're bringing back the police athletic league soon. It's in the city manager's office. We're trying to get those positions filled right now so that we can try to have some meaningful outreach to our juveniles so that we can, try to impact this problem. But at the end of the day, we keep seeing the same juveniles over and over again, and they're starting to make their ways into many of the communities around not just District 5, but 5, 6, and 7. And so we're going to continue to monitor those activities and our efforts to try to reduce, our crime rates. And we're hopeful because we're seeing crime in District 5 trending in the right direction. We're still not where we want to be, but certainly things are going in the right direction. Soon we'll be having the grand opening for the police precinct on Roosevelt Highway. We're expecting to have that grand opening on next Saturday. Well, this coming Saturday, I'm sorry. We'll have the grand opening for the Roosevelt Highway precinct. We're right now in discussions with Senator Josh Bonner, who manages the facility up where Grown Folks is, the plaza, and he's pledging to make space available for our traffic unit in the office piece at the back of that particular complex. And so we're in the process of trying to get a lease agreement with him so that we can have a presence on Old National Highway immediately, because he's agreed to make that location available to us as soon as we're able to get the lease agreement passed before the city council. Hopefully it'll be within the next, not this upcoming meeting, but at the next council meeting, that we'll be able to get that done. And the Jackson Music Store up on Old National is coming before the council tomorrow. Now, what that means is that we've already purchased the facility, but what we're planning to do is to do some renovations so that we could put a mini precinct in there where the State Farm side is now, and then the police property and evidence section will be in the other side. And so that will be coming up for vote before the elected officials on tomorrow, where we're asking for them to give us the funding to do the renovation so that we could go ahead and get started on that project immediately. And so, having said that, I would be more than happy to answer any questions you all might have at this time.
Well, thank you, Chief, so much for the presentation. And so I will say thank you for that. As you know, the Old National Commons Plaza is that's that plaza that they have, and we do got a new staffing agency over there, Spirion, as well. But that means they're coming back to the 5th District, but now they're coming back with traffic. Chief, what else falls under traffic?
So all of our traffic enforcement officers, they do hit and run investigations. They do all traffic accidents. They do enforcement. In fact, I have 2 of our traffic officers that are in motor school right now, which means they're learning they're getting certified to ride motorcycles. And so the traffic unit will have 2 individuals that will be riding motorcycles, and we expect to deploy those motorcycles in an enforcement capacity along Old National and along Camp Creek Parkway. And the person that's going back and forth between Camp Creek Parkway will also operate between Camp Creek and South Fulton Parkway. And so the person that'll be operating on Old National will just strictly be on Old National. And my expectation is that he'll ride up and down and do traffic enforcement along Old National. And also I get a lot of complaints about people parking in fire lanes, and they'll be responsible for that enforcement as well.
Absolutely. But Chief, can I make a suggestion?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the person that's on Old National, if every other hour or so they can just come up, flat shows, maybe go down through Red Oak up to Old Bill Cook, Buffington, Rural 85 down to Fairwood, back around Mallory, And then come back to Old National, because I'm pretty sure that we can enforce those trucks that's illegally driving on those routes too. Might catch one too, right? And
well,
so,
when I say Old National, I mean the Old National corridor, which means it would be acceptable for them to be on Godby Road. It would be acceptable for them to be on Flat Shows. It would be acceptable for them to be on certain parts of 138. I don't want them getting too far away from the Old National corridor. Bethsaida, anything that runs off of the Old National corridor would be acceptable for them to engage in traffic enforcement. But also understand that when we're doing LiDAR or radar, there's only certain areas where they can do that. And by law, there has to be at least 500 feet of straightaway when you're running radar. And so when they're doing that, but in terms of the tractor trailer violations, I have no issue with them going up there and doing that, because that's my second largest complaint about tractor trailers being off the truck route. Now, I will say this: I presented State Representative Bazemore with legislation. I spent the better part of 2 days writing a piece of legislation that would allow me to utilize the same technology that we use for the camera systems to impact tractor trailer violations. In other words, the way I wrote the legislation, it would send out a beam that's 13 feet, 6 inches high, which is what the legal definition of a tractor trailer is. If that beam is broken, then it would take a picture of the tractor trailer's front tag and rear tag. And those people will be mailed tickets, just like we do with the school zone violations. And so I'm hopeful that legislation has passed, because I know the legislative cycle is up, but it's made it through the House, and I believe it's sitting on the governor's desk for his signature. Now, if the governor does not sign the legislation, then it automatically becomes law after a period of time. And so I don't know if his intentions are to sign the legislation or not, but I'm hopeful that it will pass and that the governor will not veto it.
Absolutely. And I have just two more things. When it comes to them juveniles, and, it's going to be the same repetitive thing, because it's just, unfortunately, the statute of the state. But as a municipality, if we have them and they get released, is there any way possible they can have a fine or just sentence them to pick up trash? Because one thing about these young people today is the worst thing that they can be doing is being caught picking up trash, literally, is so embarrassing to them. And I think that might curtail their actions, or it may or may not, I don't know, but, just a theory. And so then the second, go ahead.
Okay, so here's the problem, is that until a juvenile is convicted of any of these crimes, they can't be sentenced to anything. And so what's happening is that I think many of these juveniles have kind of learned the system, that if you get arrested 10 times and you got 10 points in Atlanta, then you don't perpetrate crimes in Atlanta anymore. You go to Cobb County, you go to Clayton County, you go to Henry County, you go to other places. And so we're seeing very few convictions coming out of juvenile court, because by the time they turn 17, everything starts all over again. They're not tried in the juvenile courts. At that point, they're considered adults according to the court system. And so when it comes to things like that, I mean, we've talked about the possibility of having community court, where the communities can decide what their punishment would be in terms of quality of life type cases. But for those cases that rise to the state or superior court level, we're just not seeing those types of convictions coming out of the juvenile system.
Okay, absolutely. And then the last thing for me is that technology, and that I do know that you are a technological savvy chief and want to bring that into the city. And so the building at 138 and Highway 279, former Jackson Music Store, the mini precinct, is there any possible way that we can implement or have a drone patrol and drone station as we can partner up even with the local high school, 2 young ladies from Banneker just got their certification in drones. And so to kind of build that policing effort as bringing in the new fold and what we have, the resources that we have within our communities here, even though I know technically Banneker's in Union City, but most of the kids live in South Fulton. And so but what do you think about that? Then what are your thoughts, or where is that going? As we do know that you came back from a conference on that. And so I'm just anxious to hear.
Yeah, me and my staff, where at least 5 members of the staff flew out to Chula Vista, California to take a look at their drone patrol program. And so they have drones that could literally fly the length of Old National Highway and fly them over the Walmart shopping plaza all the way down to Godby Road. And so one of the things that I had asked that the council allowed me to do is to take parts of that camera fund since it came out of technology and allow us to reinvest in technology. And so what we expect to do as we build, the Jackson Music Store, as we begin to have partnerships with Walmart and other companies, we'll be able to mount drones on top of those facilities and actually fly them the length of Old National Highway. Now, in the last council meeting, you all gave us the authority to go ahead and start building out our real-time crime center. Now, let me tell you what that means. It gives us the ability to take all of this technology that we just talked about and integrate it into one space so that I'm able to live stream our drones as they're flying down Old National. I'm able to activate body camera footage of our police officers as they're out patrolling through, the Camelot community, and we're able to live stream those in the real-time crime center. We're able to create a data warehouse where we could look at analytics and try to implement a predictive policing model so that we could try to figure out where crimes are most likely to occur. All of those things are planned and should be completed by the end of 2023. And so we're really excited about that. We're excited about having the ability to remotely patrol places like Camelot, where we've seen some serious problems with respects to our crime. And so what we want to do is just make sure that we have the appropriate technology footprint along the Old National Corridor, because we've made strides in terms of reducing crime along Old National. But when I first came, our crime rate was like 10 times above what the national average is. And so we've been able to chip away at that number every year and reduce those numbers every year. But the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time, because you're not going to get under the national average in a year or 2 years when you have, an area of town that's been essentially, I love my people over at Fulton County, but somebody fell asleep at the wheel. The South Fulton had not had a beat realignment from the Fulton County government when they were over this area since 1971. And most of South Fulton was farmland in 1971. So, making sure that you have the right patrol beat designs is extremely important. And so we got with Georgia Tech and we did a study with them, and they said, you all only have 8 beats, but you should have 18 beats. And so now we're trying to ramp the police department up so that we can get to that 18 beat capacity, so that we can have the types of patrols that we want to see, not just along Old National, but in areas like District 4, where you see a lot of undeveloped land. Those areas still have to be patrolled effectively.
Right. And don't forget the real-time crime center can tie into the cameras that's in the park too.
Right.
We're looking for those to get installed by the summer.
I had a meeting with IBM today, and IBM is looking at creating some analytics for us so that if the cameras in the parks are going to be piped into the real-time crime center, we're going to pipe in the Walmart parking lot cameras into the real-time crime center. All of the other businesses around, their cameras will be piped in as well. And what IBM is going to build for us is analytics that show if there's a person that goes from one car to the next at Walmart, then it's going to send an alert to the real-time crime center and activate all of those cameras. Because as you all know, car break-ins, you'll have like 12 or 13 cars broken into. And so the analytics will look for those types of behaviors in not only our parks, but in, our densely populated areas, so that we can utilize those assets that we have out in the field a little more effectively, right? And so having those analytics and sending an alert to the real-time crime center, hey, you got somebody going by and checking doors at Walmart, then we instantly don't have to wait to be dispatched. The real-time crime center personnel will reach out to the beat officers and say, y'all need to go by and check Walmart. There's somebody checking car doors over at the Walmart. And so those are the types of efficiencies that we're talking about creating, because we should have had 18 beats and we only had 8. Creating efficiencies through the use of technology become extremely important.
Stacey Williams, you have a question?
I do. Chief Meadows, thank you for coming on the call today. It's good to know that you all are going to other locations, like you said, Chula Vista, and benchmarking and doing your research and whatnot. Curious to know about, and this is relating to technology. Have you all thought of the benefits that I believe it's called Shot Spotter?
Right.
Or is that something that the city can actually benefit from?
I met with the CEO of Shot Spotter during the Smart City Initiative. And let me tell you the conversation that I had with him. It wasn't very pleasant, because Shot Spotter is designed for cities like Atlanta, Chicago, Detroit, because you have sensors that they deploy in Shot Spotter, and one sensor will only cover a radius of 1 mile. And each one of those sensors cost $150,000 a piece. Well, to cover the entire city of South Fulton would cost just $1 million for the hardware. And then it's a subscription model after that, after you spend $1 million on the hardware. And so you still have to pay them upwards around $350,000 a year to monitor those sensors. And so what my conversation was with the CEO from ShotSpotter was that you need to try to figure out a pricing model that's conducive to the smaller cities, because quite frankly, we can't afford that price tag. And his response to me was, well, we feel comfortable with our pricing model. And I said, okay, that's fine. But now you have smaller companies that are testing the technology. And so we have a T&E period where we'll be testing this new company, a trial and error period where we'll be testing this new company's gunshot detection. And what it does, it allows us to purchase sensors at a really low price, and they activate off of our body camera footage. So in other words, if there's a sensor there and there's a gunshot that rings off, then our body cameras are instantly activated, and it helps to triangulate where the shots came from, because each one of our body cameras have GIS technology in it, right? And so it helps us to triangulate the area where those shots might be coming from. And so we're looking at more affordable initiatives when it comes to gunshot detection. And it's becoming, I think that ShotSpotter is going to price themselves out of the market because of their unwillingness to, engage in other types of initiatives. And so at some point, I believe that these companies that are launching these initiatives will be the way to go in the future. But at the end of the day, the technology really isn't there. That's why we're going through this trial and error period with this new company, and we're going to just see how effective it is.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you have a question regarding, can you address the car break-ins on Buffington Road? Will cameras help to reduce the car break-ins?
So what we've done, we've identified about 12 juveniles that we know of that are breaking in cars from Old National to Oakley Industrial to Buffington Road, all the way down to the city of College Park. And so some of those kids live directly across the street from Walmart. And every time we've caught them out, they've been out in stolen cars where they're just driving up and down Old National. They'll drive over to Buffington, they'll drive over to Oakley Industrial, and they'll break in 15, 20 cars at a time. And so what we've done, we've strategically placed license plate readers along each one of those corridors. And so we have cameras along the corridor now, both private and public sector cameras that we're in the middle of piping into the real-time crime center. And with two of the incidences that have occurred along Oakley Industrial and Buffington Road, the license plate readers have brought up the stolen vehicles. And now we look at where those vehicles are ultimately recovered in relationship to where we know our repeat offenders live. And so that kind of gives us a starting point. So that's one of the reasons that we've been able to see a reduction. Now, make no mistake about it, car break-ins still occur, but they're not occurring anywhere near at the rate that they were at the beginning of this year. And we track crime from week to week. And so we know when we start to see the trends going in the right direction, when, we're just not having as many from week 11 to week 12 or week 12 to week 13. And so, yes, to answer your question, I expect to have more cameras along both of those corridors, but what we're trying to do is just ramp up the cameras as we go along, as we identify blind spots in certain areas where we know we're having problems.
Does the city of South Fulton conduct a drug take-back initiative? If so, when is the next event and where?
So what we do is we've identified through our anonymous tip line about 62, 63 drug houses that we're actively investigating right now. The way we do it is that when we get arrest warrants for individuals, we do warrant roundups. We try to do them all at one time. Because if we arrest each drug dealer one at a time, then you arrest one, somebody else will come in and take their place. You arrest another one and somebody will come in and take their place. And so what we try to do is identify networks. And once we develop all of those arrest warrants, then we get with the U.S. Marshals, we get with the Fulton County Sheriffs, we get with the surrounding jurisdictions where those drug sales are impacting communities, and we'll try to do them all at one time to try to make the biggest impact. And I'll tell you, our goal is and will always be to do that right before the summer months come, because we know that's when things are going to get ramped up. So we'll be looking at April and May, where we'll be trying to execute a lot of those arrest warrants that we have right now that we've developed during the course of some of our investigations. Now, make no mistake about it, some arrests are made immediately when you're able to go and execute a search warrant and the person is there. But more often than not, when you go to do a search warrant, someone's not there. You still know who your target is, and you'll issue an arrest warrant for that individual. Under those circumstances is when we try to impact communities by going out and removing all of the drug dealers around the same time. That way you can monitor them as they're making their way through the jail system and when they ultimately make bond.
I think they meant where people get to like turn in their old drugs.
Oh, y'all let
But
me
we'll
go.
take that answer.
So the DEA normally does those. The DEA normally does those details, and they'll partner with our community policing section, where they'll bring out those big mailboxes. When we build our new police headquarters, they've committed to putting a mailbox in our lobby so that people can come and just put them in that lock box 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But until then, we have situations where they'll come out and partner with Captain Tukes. I'm sure everybody on here has Captain Tukes' number. If you reach out to her, she could give you the next time where one of those programs is going to be executed.
Absolutely. And thank Captain Tukes too, because they did a whole quarter of safety summit with fire police and code enforcement, and so she did touch on that as well. And Chief, I just say is that I'm glad that this traffic is coming, division is coming, because maybe we can get some bike lanes going down Highway 279 now.
Oh, that would be really nice. Yeah,
I'm trying to tell you, right?
And I really have to, commend Representative Bonner, because he actually reached out to us and just said whatever space we need available, he's willing to make it available to us. And so the traffic unit was really excited about it because they're kind of cramped in the current space that they're in right now. And so he's actually donating the space to the city for $1 a month. And so, but the one thing that you and I had talked about, Councilman, was also putting a kiosk in the State Farm side so that people that want to come by and make a report, or people that want to come by and print off their reports, there will be a kiosk in the State Farm side so people can come by and pick up copies of their reports and things of that nature.
Absolutely. See, we over in the 5th, Chief. We do you right. You know what I mean? We give you the space you need for the right price point.
Oh,
because
yeah.
we believe in space. But
yeah.
You know, that represents our mission to the core, is to provide exemplary customer service in a safe, inclusive, innovative, and economically vibrant city. Keyword being safe, sir. And so I know we do have challenges, but crime anywhere is a threat to crime everywhere. We do know where the hot spots are. You don't have to tell me anything. It's just I know that it takes time to effectively, legally eliminate an issue when you don't want it to return. So I will tell people that it's like you have to be patient. And so that's unfortunate. Some things happen, but the mindset of people. But like you said, we're going to have plenty of activities for them to do this summer. So hopefully that will curtail it. Thank you for bringing PAL back. I really appreciate that program. And Parks and Recs and work that out. So anybody have any more questions?
Yes, I do. Is there any way that the police department can coordinate with the maintenance department to see about getting speed limit signs on Mallory? Because there's only 2 each way. Mm-hmm. And there are people who have no clue as to how fast they're supposed to be going. They come off of Roosevelt Highway, where the speed limit is 55, which it should be just 45 because there's only a 2-mile stretch where it's 55, and the rest of the time from College Park to Fairburn, it's 45. And
well, I think we have money in the budget, Councilman, for the speed detection devices. Like when you're driving down Mallory, it would flash the speed that you're going, and it would say slow down. If I'm not mistaken, I believe we have so many for each one of the different districts, and so I would work with Councilman Reeves to try to get one put wherever he feels they're necessary. But I do know that we'll be adding those every year because they're they're powered by solar power. And they're really low maintenance. And I'm a big fan of them because studies show that they do reduce speed along various corridors. And so I think that it's important for us to identify those areas that are kind of most vulnerable to speeding and make sure that we put those sort of devices. So what I'll commit to do is to reach out to Antonio Valenzuela to see if Mallory Road is conducive to one of those signs. I know traffic, but I don't know traffic engineering. I kind of leave that up to people that know better than I do, whether or not those sort of things are, if they can be approved for those specific areas, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
All right, Chief Meadows. We have a few questions that's in the chat, and this is almost our time to wrap up. So I'm gonna ask you some rapid fire questions so we could get through really quickly. Do you still set up roadblocks in the city of South Fulton?
Yes, we do it all the time. We put them in those areas where we either have problems with DUIs or we put them in those areas where we have problems with speeding.
All right. What is the city plan this summer for the water boys on the corners?
Well, we've had pretty good success in South Fulton. We have areas around Cascade where they tend to stage up, and we have places around Fulton Industrial and Camp Creek where they stage up. I can't think of anywhere along Old National other than on the College Park side, up where you get off of the interstate. That's actually College Park. I know I see them up there all the time, but we do pretty good about picking them up and taking them home to their parents because that's been my mandate to our officers. When you see them out there, pick them up and take them home to their parents. And there's some people you don't like it. They're out there trying to make money, and I get that. But being on an interstate ramp and being in the middle of traffic along Old National, we have to look out for the safety of our kids above everything, right? And I just like everyone else, I want the kids to make money too, but I'm not willing to compromise anybody's safety to do so.
So we'll just refer them to the new Parks and Recs workforce training program that they have over at Burdette coming out in the next month or two. And that can help them make legitimate money without getting in trouble and work towards a career. So we'll keep that in mind for them. Next question. How is privacy protected while policing with the use of drones?
So the privacy piece is that we cannot hover a drone over anyone's house and search their backyard. So what the way our policy is written, I actually wrote the policy myself. We're only going to put drones above public areas. In other words, I'm going to deploy them to Walmart. I'll deploy them to Kroger's parking lots. They won't be going into communities at all, but they will go into business corridors and things of that nature, because the last thing I want is for citizens to think just because we have the technology that we're misusing it somehow to invade people's privacy. The goal of this is to make the Old National Corridor safer. And so we'll always be in public spaces or in common areas, but never will we be in the Pointer Ridge community, unless an emergency happens. If there's a house fire and we need to get a drone above to see if people are trapped inside of a house, or if there's an emergency where there's an active shooter or something like that, then it's kind of all bets off, right? Because what you're trying to do is make sure that you have the most efficient way to get to that emergency. And that's what drone technology does. But anytime you see it in a community, it's going to be there for a justifiable reason.
What are your plans?
Hold on, wait. I want to say this because I have to say this. As to if there was a high-speed chase to occur, to eliminate the high-speed chase, and anybody else getting a drone will be able to follow that car wherever it would go to, so that instead of in lieu of a high-speed chase, you can just drive right on up at it and then go apprehend whoever was operating that vehicle.
Right. Well, what I've learned about, in terms of high-speed chases, you could put a drone up in the air. It doesn't necessarily have to follow the vehicle, but you can elevate it to a point to where that drone will keep track of that vehicle for miles and miles, unless it goes through like a tree canopy, in which case we couldn't fly it over that anyway. But at the end of the day, you can elevate that drone to a point, because most of our cameras will allow you a range of up to several miles, especially the ones that we'll purchase for the drone patrol program. And so following a car, no, but monitoring it from an elevated position, yeah, that's probably the best case scenario for us, because what I've asked our drone manufacturer to do was to build us a product that we can mount inside of our blue lights, so that if someone takes off from a police officer, they'll be able to push one button. The analytics will be able to eliminate every car on the road, with the exception of the car that's running from us. So those sort of analytics help out a great deal in terms of being able to eliminate car chases. And so that product doesn't exist now. What we've done is we've asked our drone vendor to build it for us. And so, and we're trying to get approval from the FAA that allows us to do that.
All right, next question. What are your plans this year for the Old National Highway on Saturday of Rick Ross Car Show?
So I had a state representative call me, and the state representative said, Chief Meadows, I've heard rumors that you plan on shutting down 138 and Old National Highway. She said, you know this is a state route. I don't think you can do that. And I said, well, I have the ability to shut down Old National for one of two reasons, and 138 for one of two reasons: if there's a public safety hazard or if there's a crime scene. Last year, when the Rick Ross event came up, people were getting out. They were parking their cars and getting out like it was Freaknik, and I'm not having that. And I told the state representative, if it happens this time, I'm shutting down Old National and 138, and the only people that'll be able to get in and out are the residents that live there. Now, last year, I didn't find out about the Rick Ross, that he was even having the event. It happened on maybe like a Saturday or Friday or something like that. And I found out about it on a Wednesday. And so literally I shut down all of the traffic, because I tried to reach out to Fayetteville, and they said, well, we're permitting the event and we don't have a problem with it. So I shut everything down on Old National and 138, and I routed it right up towards Fayetteville. And now the people in Fayetteville are raising sand because they don't want the commissioners to approve the event this year. And so this year, Rick Ross has invited us to the table. I have my patrol commander there, and I have my special operations division commander there. And I told them that if he doesn't follow through with what he says he's going to do, then I'm shutting it down again this year. And I'm routing everything back up through Fayetteville again this year. And so he's made it a point to have, South Fulton involved from the very beginning. The event is not until June of this year. And so I'm hopeful that, he's a man of his word and he's going to do what he says he's going to do. But they're in the process of developing a traffic plan, and they're using the overflow parking at World Changers, and they're driving shuttle buses to and from the event this year. Now, if that changes and he doesn't follow through with that, then my expectation is that we'll block off traffic leading up to 138 on Old National and block it off at 138 and route everything back down towards Fayetteville again. You know, it didn't go as smoothly as I wanted last year, but then I didn't have a whole lot of heads up time that the event was even taking place. One of my people actually found it on social media a few days before the event took place.
Final question: how should we report a resident that's selling drugs?
We have we have actually a couple of ways you can do it. We have an app. It's called the City Guard app, and you have to go in and you select the city of South Fulton. You could send us pictures, you could send us videotape, you can send us tag numbers. You could send all of that stuff to us anonymously. Go to your app and look up City Guard and download the app, and then you'll see narcotics tips or you'll see gang tips. And then you just take pictures of whatever you want to take pictures of. You take videotape of whatever you want to take video. And if you do it that way, then it's instantly routed to the narcotics unit. Or if you have gang tips, then it's instantly routed to the gang unit. And then they're able to follow up on it immediately. If you would just rather call our tip line is 404-577-TIPS, TIPES. But I would recommend the app route because, they only check, they check that tip line at least once a day. Whereas those, if you do it on the app, it instantly shows up on their phone. And so it's just a better way to communicate with our specialized units.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Chief, let me just say, with all that technology, I just tell you, is that we should become known as the technology district. And I think that we can just, put some things in place to better serve the needs of this community, because we are along the census tract. But there was a question in the chat talking about these hotels, and I'm going to put everything to rest. Every hotel, every motel, every Motel X for adults only, is in College Park. We do not have a hotel along Highway 279, not in the technical boundaries of the city of South Fulton.
Not
so that's
one.
out of his purview.
Right.
But his number 2 is the number 1 over there. And so I'm pretty sure that she's been trained very well, and we won't be seeing a lot of that.
I mean, Chief Connie Rogers was my deputy chief. She actually came over from College Park with me when I came over to the city of South Fulton, and now she's back over there as the police chief. They actually closed one of those hotels down, I believe, 2 weeks ago. And so we've been working with them on White City Road. We've been working with them because part of White City Road is on us and part of it's on College Park. And so since Connie's gone over as the police chief, we have an excellent working relationship with College Park now. And so I do know that some of our detectives worked with them to help close down that one hotel. And I know that they're working on another hotel up there right now because they have people living in there. Anytime a school bus pulls up to a hotel to pick up kids and take them to school, that's a problem because they're using it as an extended stay place, and it's not necessarily designed for that. And so that kind of breeds a kind of element that nobody really wants to see in the community. And so if you have extended stay places, then they're usually designed and developed as extended stay hotels. But none of those facilities up there have been designed for that purpose.
No, they don't even have kitchens. And all I'm saying is housing choices, people need them because they need them. As clearly we can see that. But however, Chief,
yes,
I don't want to take no more of your time. I do thank you for jumping on and coming out and talking to the constituency of District 5 and to the city. And so I think you're doing an exemplary job as we are coming back to Old National. We temporarily left Old National, people at 279, so I don't want to get dismayed. But there was a piece of land that was bought at the corner of Highway 138 and 279 as I don't know what it's going to be, but it could be headquarters, it could be there, but we're going to have a presence along the corridor. So it's just certain things happen that caused them to relocate. But don't ever, ever, ever think that we're just going to ban.
No, that's why I was about Representative Bonner giving us that, because you don't know how much it pained me to have to close down that old national facility. But, at the end of the day, we were confronted with the facts that we had. And so, but for him to come through and donate that space to us, I mean, that's just huge right now.
But that's what we do in the fifth, sir. Because we believe in keeping the community safe. And so I thank God for Bonner doing that, because there's a lot of events that goes on over that area too, and that traffic is going around in Jerome Road and the Long Meadow Way as people complain about those speed zones. And so we are answering the problem, solution to the problem. And so thank you again, Chief. Thanks for your leadership. Thanks for all that you do. Come back and join us soon. And so as the grand opening is this Saturday, y'all, on Roosevelt Highway.
It's this Saturday, yeah.
Will y'all have food?
I don't know. That's Captain Took's thing. I try to just stay out her way. So I'm sure knowing Addie, she's gonna have some food there.
I was just getting to say Captain Took's always have food.
Okay, at what time? What's the time?
Oh, I think it's from 11. Let me look and see. I don't want to. It is. Let's see. It is grand opening. It starts at 9 o'clock, from 9 to 11.
Thank you.
Right.
9 to 11. All right. There it is. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, y'all have that. And y'all have y'all tasks, because he has said they got money in the budget for the flashing lights of this detection. So, people on the call, y'all want it. Y'all heard it from him. We're just funding. Send us the email where you want to locate it. He's going to get with Antonio Valenzuela, and let's get it done. And so,
final reminders: this Friday is Arborist Day. Councilman Reeves will be handing out fruit trees over at Burdette Park. What time, Councilman Reeves?
We are looking at about from 5 till 7. And so, to give people time getting off work, come through, because it's really kind of a drive-through. I want apple trees, but it's not the season. It's trying out the season. So, but as they say, an apple a day. And we just want to have something that you can go put in your yard, and the gift that keeps on giving, as a bouncy, will be able to, do whatever you need with it, share as well. But I think that is something, it'll be the different theme every year. But Arborist Day, hey, plant a tree. Got trees? So come on and get one. We're only giving away 100. So the first 100, first come, first serve. Or we could do a pre-registration, however. But at this point, first come, first serve. And let's just make that happen. Because we have a long list of things getting ready to come to. Do not forget, next Monday, we are live in person. We will not have the call. We will not have the call. It will be recorded, but we will be at Harold's Chicken and Ice Bar in the old National Commons Plaza. And so, and we'll be having ice cream and cake later after the sanitation presentation from Mr. Gordon Perkett, as all things sanitation. And so, you have questions, you have concerns, you have anything pertaining to sanitation, come hear the facts as they are. And so it is a very robust program. I believe in it, and I stand behind it. I'm glad we're doing it. And, but I want you to hear from yourself and hear the presentation. And so you can dispel any rumors.
And so I just want to remind you, it's a dual event. Alrighty, so Gordon Burkett who's over the sanitation, will be coming with a 30-day countdown to transitioning. So I suggest you tell everybody in the city that want to sit down and hear it for themselves what's going to happen over the next 30 days. He will be the speaker at the Harold's Chicken and Ice Bar over in the Old National Commons Plaza. Also, he is also bringing the company to do the paper shredding.
Right.
Now, our meeting is 6:30 to 7:30, but he will be out there from 5:30 to 7:30 for anyone who wants to bring paper that needs to be shredded. So we're keeping the environmental theme going. And everybody, we're asking you to please help us make it special and support it. He said he's used to seeing a big turnout of people bringing paper. So please make sure you bring your paper on when you come to the meeting.
What is paper made out of?
Trees.
There it is. Got trees. Got trees. And so we keep
I
it.
didn't take science.
Go ahead, Timmy. Go.
That was the biggest ones. We have the rest of the announcements will be coming when we get there on May 1st on the things that are getting ready to come up. But we have a lot of stuff planned for this summer. And I would encourage everyone to be there to hear all the things that's getting ready to happen. So they can't say we didn't tell anyone before it happened. So please come, make sure you come out, bring your neighbors, bring your HOA, bring your friends. This is one of the few times we'll be in person. So let's make a party of it. As far as I'm concerned, it's paper and party, but make sure you do make time to come on out.
Absolutely. And besides, people, it's our birthday. I'm just saying. And so I love it. I love you all. And I just want to say, just keep the faith. Keep saying something positive about the city of South Fulton. You are truly the best part. Truly the best part. As y'all are staying engaged, y'all are staying encouraged. Keep each other encouraged. And so, and look here. And let's go make this city happen. I hope to see y'all tomorrow night at the council meeting, as we will be live, Southwest Arts Center, starting at 4 o'clock. All right, ladies and gentlemen, y'all have a good evening. Thank you all for joining, and thank you for taking time out of your day.
Good night,
Thanks,
everybody.
Councilman. Thanks, Tamiko.
You're welcome. Don't forget, early voting started for Tish Nagassi's position. So everybody don't forget to go vote.
We will. You. Thank you.
This is Ms. Rucker. Quick question for you. Are you going to send out the email, the address where the meeting is going to be on Monday?
Yes, look at the newsletter, and it should also be on the city calendar. If they don't have it up there now, it should be there before this week out.
Okay,
gotcha. Go in tomorrow, I'll ask why it's not on there.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm going to the right place. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.